Code of Ordinances. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. PO number 6355, an ordinance of the City of Port Arthur amending Chapter 22, businesses of the Port Arthur Code of Ordinances by adding Division 11, gaming sites and gaming machines, to provide for regulation of the operation of amusement, gaming, and machines within the city limits. I know the Chief of Police and Mr. Shabazi have worked on this particular item.
I need to get it on the floor before you start discussing it, if you don't mind. Is Councilmember Williamson?
Move approval.
Councilmember Frank?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve proposed ordinance number 6355. Questions? Now, City Manager, I'm sorry, but I had to get it on the floor before you could legally
That's
discuss
fine,
it.
ma'am. I'm still learning our processes. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Shabazi is here to speak on this matter.
Mr. Shabazi.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Do I have to give my name and address?
No, Sam.
Okay, all right.
I'd rather not.
Okay, so available to you, or made available to you, is the proposed changes adding, I know we talked about this before, it is effectively an ordinance that will be used to regulate eight-liners. We talked about this a couple months ago. This is the ordinance that we have proposed for you. Now, I do understand that there might be some suggestions or changes or objections to it, but effectively what it does is it will help us, or help the police department. Not only will it give us tools for enforcement in terms of allowing us to regulate machines, but it also give us a way of generating revenue for enforcement of the actual ordinance as well. Some of the things that it requires, it will require that the machines all be registered. There will be permits that they have to obtain. There will be some taxes, and also an enforcement fee. I have to give credit to street crimes officers John Corona and Mike Hubert. They actually went out in the community and tried to assess how many of these machines are actually out there. There's about 500 is what their calculation is. That's just businesses that actually let them into their businesses. And so there's probably a lot more than that. But of course, we didn't have a tool for enforcement. We couldn't go into businesses. So what this does is it effectively requires that all the machines have be in buildings. For example, they have to. There's that requirement on 22613. It includes requires transparent and uncovered windows with those machines. There's going to be a requirement that a sign be put showing that it's a gaming site. So that way we can start to assess exactly which businesses have eight-liners, and exactly we'll be able to keep tabs on each and every machine.
Sam, let me just ask you a question. For those businesses that are not allowing the police department into right now to verify that they have machines, and you later find out that they have machines, what penalty is there? It's got to be a penalty for that.
Confiscation, partially. But one of the problems with confiscation is that these machines are usually owned by a third party, and these people just lease them. But under this ordinance, we'd have that tool. We'd have a mechanism for enforcement, including confiscation potentially.
And how long can, if it's they're third-party machines, how do we enforce that? How do we pay them, make that third party pay, or they will, or the owners of the business pay, or who pays? I mean, it's got to be something that, because they can get them back. How soon can they get them back?
Let's see.
And what kind of fine is assessed them?
Oh, we have fines. The fines for violation of the chapter range from we put into 22642. It's a fine of not less than $200 and not more than $100 or $1,000 for the first violation. Second conviction, it would be $500 to $1,000.
For the first violation. Now, does that, okay? Let's say someone has 10 machines. Mm-hmm. Is that considered one violation, or are they going to be assessed, know, $1,000 for each machine? Yeah, and each machine would be a violation, and each day a violation occurs is deemed a separate Class C misdemeanor offense under the section. So it can be ongoing. So it's certainly can get expensive for non-compliance. But we approached it very heavy-handed for the purpose of actually enforcing or being able to regulate these machines, because they're it's difficult. The legislature has made it difficult for us. They
basically legalize these machines if they don't give out anything of cash value. That's really, they have that exception called the fuzzy animal law.
Yeah.
And it effectively is found constitutional. And so that makes it difficult for us to enforce because it only becomes illegal if they pay out. And we can't know if it pays out. If a clerk is paying out, we'd have to have police officers there sort of regulating the whole thing. So what we're proposing is we're actually proposing a $600 fee for each machine that people employ. So there'd be that for enforcement. So that will go towards any increase in surveillance equipment that is needed by the police department and also overtime by the police department to enforce the ordinance.
So now the ones that we've identified, you all have access into their, and the chief is biting at the bits to tell me this. So.
Okay.
If they were hiding them behind walls and behind doors, we took the fire marshal with us, and they had to open those doors, and that's where we found them. So we have mechanism through the fire department's cooperation, because they were hiding behind locked doors with people in them. That's a fire hazard. So we bring the fire marshal with us. I would try not to confiscate them, because in previous years when I seized them, I had 100 in my impound garage and 150 at the airport. And it didn't work out well because I ended up having to give them almost every one of them back. So we prefer to return them to the third-party owner with an admonition that don't lease to these people, because, you know, we're going to tie it up in court next time.
So if citizens see these places being utilized and they know gaming's going, they can call the police department?
Yes, ma'am. I know that you have, and I know other council members have sent me emails of locations. About 3 weeks ago, we stung one on Catalina Court, and we had an officer undercover and received payout, and we arrested him and put them in jail for a felony offensive promotion of gambling. But it's very difficult. We even brought a Asian policeman from Houston to try to get him one, but it has gotten to the point that you have to be referred by a customer who's been dealing with them for a very, very long time. And we've been aggressive in this because I don't like the phone calls that my husband spent our entire paycheck, or vice versa, my wife did. And we have filed more cases on these 8-liners than all other entities in Jefferson County combined. And I think that just the finding of the over 500 has shown the extent of the problem here. And I mean, used to it was pretty easy to make a case, and now what we do is we take the motherboard out of the machine, and the company's going to have to replace that because that's going to be held in evidence.
So you can destroy that motherboard?
I can't destroy it, but it's going to be mine until it goes to court.
Okay.
And then we'll return it. But I mean, you know, we're not just going to give them back it won't be a working machine, because the motherboard can be used in evidence in court. So we're going to hold it.
How much tax are we assessing them? What do we?
So it's necessary that we can't assess more of 1/4 of an occupational tax, so that's $15 is the tax. But we're also assessing a enforcement fee, because this is going to take a lot of manpower to enforce, and it's going to take a lot of overtime hours. So we've assessed a $600 enforcement fee for each machine. So 500 machines, that's about $300,000 a year that it should raise for police enforcement. That'll go into police fund for enforcement. It'll go towards surveillance equipment, staff, record keeping by that staff, overtime for officers allocated to enforcement.
Okay. And I do want to thank you all for the work that you've been doing on that. It's been a long time coming. So thank you. Councilmember Lewis?
You say you're going to assess a fee?
An enforcement fee.
Enforcement fee.
Yes, sir.
Up front. You're gonna
on each machine each year.
So to put that machine and activate that machine, they have to have for each machine you have to pay a $600.
Each machine they have, the business employees would be a $600 fee.
$600 fee up front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They should be drying up pretty soon.
So every year there will be however be the requirement to renew also. So it's
based on the
ongoing.
history.
So I don't know what the ongoing effect will be towards the incentive to keep the machine, but it's necessary. It'll be necessary for the purpose of enforcement to keep that kind of enforcement fee in place, because it's going to require a lot of manpower. It already has required a lot of manpower.
Okay.
And an ordinance without enforcement is effectively just words in on a piece of paper. For us to really have an efficient and effective ordinance, we need the police behind it, writing citations, and they have to seal the machines as well to prevent use. Also, I mean, it's going to require to make sure that we're enforcing 4701 of the penal code, making sure that these things don't pay out like a gambling machine would. We can't be everywhere, of course, so we don't know exactly when they're going to pay out, but we'll need surveillance equipment to make sure that it's not paying out illegally.
So in order to enforce the payout, you either have to have a witness or you have to...
Some proof.
There's no way of checking the machine.
No, because what happens, my understanding, I don't really frequent these places. What happens is it depends if the clerk pays out. So it's basically, like Chief is saying, it's under the table, and that's why it's very difficult to enforce the penal code, because these have developed into small clubs. They don't let people that aren't in the know or that are part of their clique inside their club. So this actually makes this, even if you have a exclusive club, it has to be next to windows, transparent for the public, so anybody could see, basically.
Okay. Well, $600 is a good starting point.
Every year it should generate, if there's 500, I believe there's probably more machines, but roughly estimate that based on the machines that they say, that's $300,000 for the police department every
Before they
year.
play the machine, I've heard this. Aren't they supposed to have a sign-on or a register?
I don't know
some
anything
kind of
about
log
it.
on in the machine?
I don't know anything about how the machines operate.
I've heard.
It's like any other one that you'd, I guess, go to Louisiana, Las Vegas. The only thing it is it cannot pay but coupons or something that can be used for the fuzzy animal type thing. We've had some that we've rated that the payouts, $500. We had one officer who went and won $150, and when she got paid, we made the arrest. One entity, when we discovered the amount that was going in there and everything else, I'll be honest with you, I called the Internal Revenue Service on them. I said, "This is untaxed money. It's outrageous the amount of money that's being made, sir, and illegally."
I received a call several days ago that one of them paid out $4,500, and they only gave the customer $1,000. That individual is ticked off. So I find out the name.
That helped in our last arrest.
Huh?
That helped in our last arrest.
Okay, good. Okay.
Councilmember Williamson?
I had just a couple of concerns. I like the ordinance, and I thank you for all the work that you guys did on this. A few concerns. Just cursory concern. You check the status of the lawsuits and all the opinions, and we're good to go, right?
I believe so, yes, sir. Okay. I mean, and there's not any that I know of pending lawsuits that would preclude us, for example, charging the fees that we have, as long as we justify exactly where that money is going to, that we've allocated towards enforcement, and that it doesn't go into a general fund.
Right.
Because if it goes into a general fund, it'd be considered a tax, and we are limited by the amount that we can tax.
Right, and that was that resulted in a lawsuit in the Valley, I think. And you guys are aware of it. I see him shaking his head, so that's good. All right, the second thing is, we're calling them 8-liners by name, literally. Is there any chance that they're going to come out with a 7-liner or a 6-liner? I know they can't go to 9 because.
I just put in my ordinance 8-liner. I don't really define it. I put it in also known as, but the let's see exactly in the definitions. Commonly referred to as an 8-liner, any coin-operated machine or electromechanical or mechanical contrivance designed, made, or adopted solely for. So it includes
So if they went to a 7-liner,
Right. I mean,
wouldn't make any difference.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay ahead of the curve because, you know, they're always one step ahead of us with this.
Sure, that's the problem with the payouts. You know, they've always created different ways to get around that the payout. Like there's sometimes they would give gift certificates, and in fact, if you walk into some of the, Officer Mike Heber brought a picture of one of the whiteboards. They changed the terms of the prizes that they have to incentivize people coming in there frequently in these game rooms. So they're always one step ahead in terms of trying to circumvent this fuzzy animal law, or to basically get around to fall within the exception, basically.
Well, I think we'll know soon whether there's some real fuzzy animal machines out there because they're about to go away.
Right.
And the ones that are left, you know you have enforcement issues. So you can't afford to operate one of those things for somebody's amusement at these prices. Okay, and the last thing I guess is, do we have an amendment ready about the windows?
Yeah, the chief had told me that one of the problems may be that the bar would have one of these 8-liners inside of it, and that would be difficult for them to have it on next to a window. So we were maybe possibly considering putting 22613B2, maybe an exception for anybody with or any business with an on-premise consumption license.
Right. Can we go ahead and do that? Do you have another amendment as well?
You can if you want, you can table it and it'll be amended and put in for the next.
What? We don't need to table it. We can amend
Well,
it.
I'd rather amend tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that. I just don't know exactly what language I would put on there, but I guess if you roughly put that that you amend it for put section 22613B2, B2, right? That there'd be an exception for on-premise consumption or any business that employs an on-premise consumption license. So it'd be the requirement that of 22613A may be waived or modified by the chief building official if the gaming site owner can demonstrate to it is a business with an on-premise consumption license.
Right. That and I will so amend in just a minute. The reason that came up is because some of the buildings that have the on-premise license literally have no windows
Right.
that face the street.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just trying to accommodate those somehow, but we're going to know.
That's the
And
best thing about this.
They still have to put the sign on the wall outside.
Sure.
All right, now does that have to be changed, that wording, or is that good like it is?
Yeah, we have a requirement. Let me see, signage 22612. Yeah, it has to clearly identify the site with a sign as required by this article. Yeah, the
They
C.
still have to put up the sign, but they just don't have to have it the window. They still have to have the sign on the door.
Sure, yeah, they would still have to do that in that circumstance. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question fully then.
Okay.
Yeah, they would still be required to put gaming site visibly under 22612C.
Okay. Is there another amendment that we need? That's all you guys can think of is the windows? Okay.
I didn't know if the other council members had suggestions or concerns.
Well, okay. Well, I'll in a minute I'll release the mic and they can say what they need to.
There's not another light on, so do you want to go on and make your
I'm
amendment?
gonna make the amendment that we add section 22613
B2.
B2. Is that small letter B?
Yes, sir.
Small letter B2.
Is there a second?
No, wait,
Oh, you're not done?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say,
Where's
and we amend that to allow a building official to waive the requirement for windows for buildings that are covered by an on-premises liquor license.
Okay, there is an amendment on the floor to include 22613B2, and along with the other language as stated by Council Member Williamson and Sam. Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend proposed ordinance number 6447 to include the prior language. Any questions? If not, City Secretary, would you do a roll call for the amendment?
I have a question.
Okay, hold on a second then. Councilmember Hamilton.
How would this include the gas stations that have these gas machines in the back but have windows in the front?
It would be required. Say they have to have transparent, unobstructed windows or open spaces on at least one side of the area, so it's viewed. It's open to view by the general public. So they'd still have that requirement. They'd have to meet that requirement. No more behind the walls or hiding the 8-liners behind walls or special rooms that they have.
To have to come out from the back of the store and put the machines in the front of the store.
Right.
Okay. We'll see how that works out.
Councilmember Williams.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, I'm literally making this one exception because there are bars that don't have the windows. They physically do not have the windows, and that's the only reason. If they had the windows, wouldn't be doing this either.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we amend proposed ordinance number 6447 as previously stated. City Secretary, would you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Frank?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Mayor Prince?
Yes.
The amendment passes.
Thank you. We're going to go back to the original ordinance. Proposed ordinance, it's been moved and seconded that we approve proposed ordinance number 6447 with the amendment included. Now would you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Frank?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember
And you know
Hamilton?
what? Hold it. Let me do 6355. That's proposed ordinance number 6355. Okay, I do apologize. As a matter of fact, we need to resend, I think, the amendment, because I think I put the amendment on 6447. So for the record,
okay.
I want to,
I can call the roll for both again if you'd like.
yeah,
Mayor.
it's been moved and second that we amend proposed ordinance number 6355 to include section 22613B and the language that accommodates it. So we need to vote on the amendment to propose ordinance number 6355.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Frank?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Mayor Prince?
Yes.
The amendment passes.
Now we'll go back to the original ordinance, but it's been moved and seconded that we approve proposed ordinance number 6355 with the amendment included. So City Secretary, would you do Councilmember Scott, a roll call, please?
Councilmember Frank?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Mayor Prince?
Yes.
The measure passes as amended.
We should have taken a break 2 hours ago.